NXT Standard Delivered Night 2 was last night, and they had a tough act to follow, but did they follow up on it? So we had the pre-show, which was Tyler Breeze and Fandango Breezango taking on Killian Dane and Drake Maverick. This was, I didn't know this at the start, but this was a title match. This was for an opportunity to face MSK. Killian Dane and Drake Maverick won that, I think. Fair enough. They've had more of a build than Breezango, but it would have been nice to see them get, I don't know, Breezango maybe get a bit more offense or a bit more of a shine. Santos Escobar versus Jordan Devlin in a Cruiserweight Unification ladder match. I mean, what a match. I think we're saying with a lot of people and wrestlers and stuff is you've got to separate the character from the person, and obviously everything that came out with Devlin, but if you look purely in wrestling, what a match. Both guys gave everything. I think when it started off I was like, they're not using the ladders as much, and then all of a sudden flip it on its head really. You had Raul Mendoza just absolutely throwing Devlin off the ladder. Devlin sells it perfectly. Then the Legado boys attacking him, and then Devlin hitting that awful, but in a good way, that moonsault off the top. There's so much room for error. It hits it perfect. And then Santos picking up the win after a lovely sort of push Devlin through the ladder. Proper split onto his back of his neck. Looked absolutely horrible. Really good match. Really, really good match. I'm glad that Santos won. I think he deserved. I think Devlin goes back to NXT UK. You know, I wouldn't be opposed. After this match, I wouldn't be opposed to facing Volta, and maybe he'd be the next challenger. I don't think he should win, but definitely be the next challenger. And as for Santos, I think he's got really a big act to follow now. He's put on an absolute show last night. And if he can keep it going, maybe get 205 a bit of steam. I know if you watch the Wrestling Corner, Simon always gives 205 a lot of praise. So I kind of like to see that happen with Santos really becoming this face, this low-key face of NXT. Obviously, you'll have Karrion Kross as the main champ, but maybe Santos is just that low-key hidden man. The Way, Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae versus the NXT Women's Tag Team Champions, Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon for the belts. Again, I think this match, I think we were coming off such an entertaining, fast-paced match before with the ladder match. I think it was very hard to have that same energy and pace, but I think a little bit sloppy in areas, but I don't think you noticed. I think the finish was great. The double eclipse into Shotzi's, what was it called? The big senton off the top rope looked really nice. These four clearly have a lot of chemistry. For me, this just set up Indy Hartwell. I do think that she is one of the futures of NXT. Like, she's clearly got character and charisma. And in the ring, she's not bad at all. So if you maybe just sort of start getting her to pick up a couple of wins, and I wouldn't be opposed to her, like Candice getting a little bit jealous that Indy's sort of getting all this shine and limelight. I don't want the Way to split up. I think the Way should stay together just because of how charismatic and how fun they are. They sort of bring something different I think NXT was lacking. And now, if you have Indy Hartwell and Candice go for the belts, I would be all for them winning it. But even if it was maybe Candice go for the main belt, give Raquel her first big feud against the Candice, and then have Indy maybe start slowly working her way up, I'd be all for that. But I mean, moving from one way, moving to the other way, Johnny Gargano versus Bronson Reed. Obviously, Reed won that qualifier match last on night one in what was a great match. If you want to see that, the other video is on the channel. But I think this was a lot different. Reed, obviously, in the storyline sense, he would have been tired, more fatigue. Like, he had all this against him. But that didn't slow him down. I think in wrestling, you have the big guys, and the big guys are always portrayed as, oh, well, they can't do these long matches, and they can't wrestle more than once a lot. Bronson Reed proved them wrong, and this match was just Reed looking like dominant, and then Gargano, being Johnny Gargano, this heel Gargano we've liked, hitting these moves, Reed just not giving up. The finish, and they really pushed Reed to the max. I mean, so much offense was given to him, and then with the finisher, the double DDT, hit 2 DDTs for the pin. He is really self. Also, like with Austin Theory on the sidelines attacking him as well, Reed was really pushed to the moon. I think that was really good. I think that really sets up Reed to possibly be a North American champion in the future. Also, Austin Theory on the side, he was great. He was everything, the reactions. When Bronson Reed did the cartwheel, Theory's just doing the hand movements, trying to work out how he did it. Theory, it's mental to think that in the way, the two young ones, for once in a faction, are the sort of the brighter sparks. Like, we know how good Candice and Johnny are, but I think Austin and Indy are proving themselves that when the time's right, they will become bigger stars than Gargano and LeRae, and the way have really done that, and I can't wait to see what goes with them. We'll move on to the main event, the co-main event. It was Finn Balor versus Karrion Kross. Now, this was a match I'll be honest, wasn't particularly excited for. It was, how do I say it? It was in the build-up. I think because Kross had already done it all. He'd already won the belt and then he had to vacate it. I'm not the biggest fan of Karrion Kross in the ring. Out of the ring, his presence, his entrance, everything about him is so cool and unique. But in the ring, I've sort of never been enamoured by him. But apart from today, well, last night it was, but it was this morning, he really switched up for me. Like, his offenses, it's not unique for a big guy, but it is a lot of striking and stuff. When you see the tall behemoths like a Strowman, it's just big lifts, big throws. Not with Kross, it's a lot more dynamic, and I think both of styles clashed there. Balor's cruiserweight style matching with Kross's striking sort of jiu-jitsu thing, it really blended well together. A lot of moments that sold me. I think Finn hits a coup de grace and Karrion Kross kicks out late, and then Kross hits a massive powerbomb, just the first one, and Balor kicks like 2 3/4. He's so good at that late kick out. But Kross, I think it was obvious he was going to win. And that's great. I don't know who challenges Kross next. I really don't. It'll be interesting to see that. I think for me, interesting is more in Finn Balor. What does Balor do? He's missed a takeover, 14-2 now at NXT takeover. Does he stick around in NXT and maybe goes for the North American belt, or maybe a Pete Dunne or someone? Or we know that it was scheduled for so long. Got NXT UK Volta versus Finn Balor at Takeover Dublin. I mean, I think we'll all be for that match. Balor, I think, will win it there. I think that this is when Balor will get a belt. Will be when he versus Volta. I think that's his next big moment. But I'll be all for just Balor having a nice little feud, maybe against Dunne, where Balor does lose and he goes, right, I'm off. I'm going to NXT UK. I'm going to go face Volta. I'm going to go win a belt. So whenever that's happened, I'm all for that. It could happen most recently. I don't know about the flying stuff and how Balor wants to travel, but I'm all for Finn Balor going over to NXT UK and versing Volta, especially after that match yesterday against Ciampa. Them two probably could have some good chemistry. And then finally, the legitimate main event is Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly in an unsanctioned match. So I think when this match was announced, an unsanctioned match in WWE is a tough one, because Regal did really well in clarifying. He went, we're not responsible. If anything happens to you, we're not responsible. If anything happens during this match that is not partake to WWE style, we don't care. We cannot be held responsible. So I like the clarification, but with unsanctioned, I'd like to see a lot more different stuff. I'd like them to see go out in the car park area and do a lot of stuff, and they go backstage. I think we saw it with, what match was it? Was it Raquel? Oh, who was it? It was Raquel and Rhea, a last woman standing, I think, weren't it? When they went backstage, like Dakota Kai got shoved in the locker. I would have liked to see that. They go backstage, but the match, I think, one of the spots that sold me was O'Reilly has him in a guillotine, Cole on the ramp. Cole just power bombs him through the stage. You don't see the stage loose, and then Cole just kicking the plasterboard, pulling O'Reilly out. Gave it this unique feel to an unsanctioned. Unsanctioned basically is normally, a couple of chairs thing. This was something a bit different. The chain, so much chain offense in this, and not in terms of wrestling, just in terms of the metal bar, just wrapping it around every kind of limb. O'Reilly using it in his finish. Love bit for me. I think it was the DDT onto the chains. You had the Panama Sunrise that nearly hit the chair. That was lovely. The finish was great. The finish out of nowhere as well. I think it was because it was just straight. The finish came just before, after O'Reilly went for the running knee to the back of the head that Cole's finished on people with, and Cole kicks out so late. It was a lovely kick out, and then O'Reilly just hits him, move from the top rope, pins him, and it's like, oh wow. And the final shot, I think, really epitomises it. O'Reilly stood at the top of the ramp, like so many welts on his back, like bruised and everything bleeding, and the camera just over his shoulders. Adam Cole's been put on a stretcher in a neck brace and has been taken out of the Capitol Wrestling Centre. It's sort of the torment that O'Reilly's been through. Really, like that match was the perfect send off for the era. Interesting way each man goes. I think Cole maybe goes away for a while with the injury. O'Reilly maybe goes on a bit of a run, try to build that momentum to face Cross in maybe a 7 months' time, 8 months' time. Roddy Strong is one he left last week before he could compete in the match. Where does he go? Does he come back? And he goes, well, Kyle, I have unfinished business with you, and we have a little mini era feed. When Bobby Fish comes back, do we get a Roddy Strong Cole versus Fish and O'Reilly? Do we have Fish trying to make it as a single star? He hasn't really done anything singles wrestling of recently. It's really interesting, the era and how it works, but it was a great pay-per-view, don't get me wrong. Just every match felt very different and had something. I think there wasn't a weak one. I think you look at the women's tag, it wasn't as good as the others just because the others had a certain feel. This one was a very quick build, but this still performed at a takeover level. And NXT has really changed. Obviously, the move to Tuesdays now. It'll be interesting to see what feuds we do see. You've got your year to reset now. Who do you go for? Who's your new star? It's going to be Karrion Kross, but do you set up Dunn? Do you set up O'Reilly? Who takes a step up? But great pay-per-views for NXT all around. Great night 1, great night 2, blown everything out the water. WrestleMania on Saturday, Sunday has got a point to prove now. It's got to be a good show. Don't forget, there will be another review video on that Sunday morning and Monday morning for the WrestleMania years. There won't be anything for Friday because it's just the Battle Royale. I'll probably mention it when I talk about night 1 because it's normally on WrestleMania. Don't forget to check us out on Twitter. It's all in the description below at the _top corner on Twitter to see when we're going to go live. Don't forget to check out the website, sports-corner.com. And thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you for WrestleMania Night 1 review. Bye bye.